Well, hello, and welcome back to Connecting the Dots from Snarful Solutions Group.
Good to be here.
Okay, so it's Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. A quick look outside for our Sacramento listeners, looking sunny, about 83 degrees Fahrenheit.
Nice day. And the markets yesterday.
Right, markets. Dow Jones closed at 388.63.12, and the S&P 500 ended Tuesday at 5248.02.
Okay.
So today, we're going to dive into three tech stories that caught our eye. Things that might actually change how we do things day to day.
Yeah, it's always good to connect those dots, see how this stuff really affects us.
Exactly. So first up, Amazon. Apparently they hit a bit of a wall last year with AI chips, GPUs specifically.
Yeah, that's right. The whole generative AI boom starting early 2024 really put a squeeze on GPU supply globally.
And Amazon's retail side felt that.
Oh, definitely. We heard it caused real delays, for their e-commerce platform, even logistics projects. Some teams were apparently stuck waiting for months.
Months. Wow, just waiting for chips.
Yeah, months. It shows how vital these things have become almost overnight, it feels like.
So what did they do? I read something about Project Greenland.
That was their answer. Launched around July 2024. Project Greenland was basically a central hub, a pool to manage and hand out the GPUs they did have.
A central pool. So not just grab what you can.
Exactly. They also put in, stricter approval processes,
Yeah.
no more free-for-all.
How did they decide who got priority then? Must have changed the whole approach.
It did. They shifted focus to ROI, return on investment.
Makes sense for a business.
Right. Which projects would actually, deliver the most value? That plus what they called common sense and focusing on long-term cash flow.
So you had to make a case for needing those valuable GPUs.
Pretty much. GPUs are too valuable to be given out on a first-come, first-served basis. That was apparently the internal motto.
Okay, so Greenland wasn't just a policy, it was a system.
Yeah, a full platform. They called it a centralized GPU orchestration platform.
Orchestration sounds complex.
Well, it was designed to share capacity, track who was using what, even share servers that were sitting idle.
And clawback chips if a project wasn't performing.
Yep, clawbacks were part of it. Plus streamlining, networking, security, all that stuff needed when you're sharing resources like this.
And now all GPU requests go through Greenland, within retail anyway.
Starting this year, yes. That's the process.
Did it work? Did it ease the crunch?
It seems like it.
Hmm.
By late last year, December 2024, their own forecasts were saying the GPU crunch should get better in 2025.
And now?
Now, Amazon says its retail side has ample GPU capacity. They're getting it through AWS, Amazon Web Services.
Leveraging their own cloud division. Smart.
Very. And having this central system, Greenland, could really help them deploy AI faster down the road compared to others maybe still scrambling for resources.
That's a really good point. It's about future agility, too. So they have this ample capacity. What are they actually doing with it?
A lot, apparently.
I bet-
Over 160 AI initiatives just in the retail business.
160? Like what?
Well, things like the Rufus Shopping Assistant, you might have seen that. The Thea tool for generating product images. Vision systems to help delivery drivers find packages, VAPR they call it.
Okay.
AI to standardize product info from other websites automatically, optimize delivery routes, better customer service bots for returns, even investigating seller fraud.
Wow, it's really embedded everywhere, from customer experience to the back-end logistics.
Pretty much. Efficiency and customer experience seem to be the big drivers.
And is it paying off financially? That's the key question, I guess.
Well, their internal numbers suggest it is.
Hmm.
They estimate these AI efforts indirectly added about $2.5 billion in operating profit last year.
Billion with a B.
Billion. And saved around $670 million in variable costs.
That's substantial, so the investment continues.
Oh, yeah. They're planning about $1 billion for these GPU AI projects in retail this year. And overall spending on AWS infrastructure is going up, too, to maybe $5.7 billion.
Huge numbers. But is the demand problem totally solved? I saw a mention of a job listing.
Ah, right. A good catch. Even with Greenland and AWS, a recent job ad for the Greenland team itself mentioned the, quote, ongoing challenge of meeting explosive GPU demand.
So it's still a balancing act, better managed, but the demand is just relentless.
Yeah, exactly. It's a constant race, likely for everyone in this space, not just Amazon.
Okay, let's shift gears. Story number 2. Teenagers and social media. There's new survey data out.
Yes, from Pew Research. They talked to about 1,400 U.S. teens, ages 13, 17, and their parents back in the fall of 2024. Focus was on mental health and social media.
And the headline finding seems to be More negativity.
Quite a jump, yeah. Now, 48% of teens think social media has a mostly negative effect on people their age.
48%. What was it before?
Back in 2022, it was 32%. So that's a pretty significant rise in negative perception.
Interesting, though. They see it negatively affecting other teens, but maybe not themselves as much.
That's a classic finding. Only 14% said social media negatively impacts them personally. There's often that disconnect. It's bad for them, but I handle it okay.
Right. And are they feeling like they spend too much time on it?
More are saying that, too. 45% now feel they spend too much time, up from 36% in 2022.
Okay. And I think the survey pointed out some differences between girls and boys.
It did. Teen girls seem to report more negative experiences overall.
Like what specifically?
They were more likely than boys to say social media hurt their mental health, 25% of girls versus 14% of boys.
Wow.
Also more likely to say it hurt their confidence, 20% versus 10%, and significantly more likely to say it negatively impacted their sleep. Half of the girls, 50%, said that.
50%? That's huge. Sleep is so critical.
It really is. But it wasn't all negative in the findings.
Oh, what were the positives?
Well, big majorities still see upsides. Like 74% said social media makes them feel more connected to their friends.
Okay, connection is still key.
And 63% see it as a place to show their creative side. So it's complicated. Connection and creativity are still strong pulls.
What about the parents? Are they seeing things the same way?
Parents seem generally more worried. 55% of parents said they were extremely or very concerned about teen mental health, compared to only 35% of teens saying the same about their peers.
So parents are more worried overall. And do they blame social media more?
They seem to. Among parents who are concerned, 44% pointed to social media as a major reason for negative impacts on teens.
And what did the teens themselves say was the cause, if not just social media?
Well, 22% of concerned teens did cite social media as the main negative factor for their peers' mental health. But they also pointed pretty strongly to bullying, 17%, and just general social pressures, 16%.
So a slightly broader view from the teens themselves. Bullying and pressure are big factors too.
Right. It's not just the platforms, in their view. It's also how people interact on them and the pressures they feel.
The survey also asked about talking about mental health, right? Between teens and parents.
Yes, and there's a gap there too. Most parents, 80%, feel comfortable talking about it with their teen.
But the teens...
Fewer teens feel comfortable talking to their parents, only 52%.
Interesting. Who are they comfortable talking to then?
Friends were actually slightly lower than parents, at 48%. Parents are 52%. Then therapists at 31%, other family at 26%. Teachers, way down at 12%.
Friends and parents are the top two, basically neck and neck. That's something.
It is. And kind of counterintuitively, some teens are actually using social media itself to find mental health info.
Wait, really? Despite seeing it as negative overall?
Yeah, about a third, 34%, said they sometimes get mental health information there. And of that group, 63% called it an important resource.
That's surprising. Are certain groups doing this more?
Yes, girls were more likely than boys, and black teens more likely than white or Hispanic teens to seek out that info online.
Raises questions about the quality of that information, though.
Absolutely. That's the big caveat. It's accessible, but is it accurate or helpful? That's unclear.
The survey also dug into specific bad experiences, right? Like drama.
Yeah, about 4 in 10 teens, 39%, said they feel overwhelmed by all the drama on social media sometimes.
And again, differences between girls and boys.
Yes. Girls were more likely to say they felt worse about their own lives after being on social media compared to boys.
Okay.
Girls also more likely to feel overwhelmed by the drama, pressured to post popular stuff, or feel excluded by friends online.
It sounds like the social comparison and interpersonal dynamics hit girls harder based on this data.
That seems to be a pattern here, yes.
But on a slightly more positive note, are teens trying to manage this? Are they cutting back?
Some are, definitely. 44% said they have tried to cut back on their social media use.
Nearly half. That's encouraging.
And again, girls were more likely than boys to say they'd tried to cut back. It suggests an awareness is growing, and they're trying to find ways to cope or reduce exposure.
Okay, a lot to think about there. Let's move to our final brief story. This one's about AI in K-12 schools.
Yeah, this is more of a heads up, really. Information is still pretty thin.
Okay.
It comes from a New York Times piece that was mostly about potential changes at the State Department under a Trump administration.
And buried in there was something about schools.
Exactly. A mention of a draft executive order that's apparently considering, mind you, a policy to integrate AI into K-12 education.
Integrate AI. How? Do we know anything more?
Nope. That's about it for now.
Yeah.
The article didn't really detail how they envision this working or the reasoning or any timeline.
Yeah.
It's very high level.
So just the idea is being floated, basically.
Pretty much. The consideration of a policy. That's all we know from this source.
But still interesting that it's even being considered at that level. AI in the classroom.
It is. It obviously opens up a ton of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Potential benefits, challenges, how it might change teaching, learning.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on if more details emerge.
For sure. Could be a significant shift down the road.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the main points today.
Sounds good.
We started with Amazon and Project Greenland, their big strategic play to manage that GPU shortage and how that's fueling like 160 plus AI projects in their retail arm.
Right, and how that centralized approach might give them an edge, even though demand is still a huge challenge.
Then we shifted to that Pew survey on teens and social media, growing negative views, especially about the impact on peers, but still seeing value in connection and creativity.
And those key differences, particularly for girls reporting more negative experiences with mental health, confidence, sleep, and also being more likely to try cutting back.
And finally, just that little flag about a potential move to bring AI into K-12 education based on that draft order mentioned. Very early days on that one.
Yeah, more of a watch this space item.
So why does this matter to, our listeners? For us at Snarful Solutions Group, understanding these things helps us help our clients, obviously.
And for everyone else. Well, that Amazon story. How companies manage resources like GPUs directly impacts the AI services and features we all end up using. Faster, slower, better, worse.
Good point. And the teen social media stuff, that gives us insight into the digital world younger people are navigating, the pressures, the good and the bad. Affects families, communities.
Absolutely. And AI in education, if that moves forward, could reshape learning for future generations. Huge potential impact there.
They're all connected, really. Threads in how technology is weaving itself deeper into everything.
Definitely complex areas, and they're changing fast. It's useful to think about how these currents might affect your own world, work, family, all of it.
Well said. And that just about wraps up our deep dive for today.
Always lots to talk about in tech.
There certainly is. Remember, we are here to help here at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.